Welcome to the Flooring 101 podcast. I'm Jason Jabara. This show is dedicated to helping flooring retailers build better businesses through proven systems for sales, operations, marketing, and leadership. This episode of Flooring 101, we go one-on-one with Mark Carr of Color Interiors in Houston, Texas. This episode features a conversation with an industry expert and successful flooring professional who shares real-world insights you can use to grow your business and increase profitability. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Flooring 101 podcast. I'm your host, Jason Jabara, and the intent of the Flooring 101 podcast is to help dealers across the country learn how to start, run, and scale a profitable flooring business through proven systems of sales, operations, and marketing. And today, my guest is none other than my good friend, Mark Carr with Color Interiors, based out of Houston, Texas, or Conroe, Texas. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good to be with you. Happy.
Yeah.
Happy.
Are you in the office today?
I am not. I am taking a break from the office.
Yeah.
And we left town yesterday, got into Florida. We're going to be here about a week, decompress, and then get back at it.
Get back at it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us a little bit about your business in the days in and days out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business down there in Texas? What's your kind of setup and, what do you have down there?
Yeah, so, we have 3 stores. We're kind of, you said Conroe. We're Conroe, the Woodlands, Magnolia. We're kind of a little triangle with 3 stores. We're north of Houston, about 40 miles. And we've been in business since 1972, so I guess that's 54 years now.
Yep.
And my dad was able to purchase it back in 1997. He gave it to me a couple of years ago. And so I've been running it for, I guess, about 15, 18 years, something like that. Kind of hard. The lines get blurred when it's family. When does one person take over and the other person step away?
So did it start as a family business when your father purchased it, or is it now a family business?
Well, it was, yes. It was a previous family. And then the owner came to my dad, basically in 97, 96, 97, and said, basically, you buy it from me or we're going to shut it down. So with those options,
but you've expanded since he took over, since he purchased it in 96, you guys have expanded since then, right?
For sure, yes. Yeah. At that time, it was one location, even in a different location than what we own now. And since then, now we have 3 locations, all North Houston area.
Right. And are you guys mainly, retail and residential replacement, or do you dabble in commercial and multifamily and things like that?
Yeah, when you say dabble, we dabble commercial. Commercial is maybe 5% of our business overall. And then the other, 95% is almost now 50-50 builder and retail, but the builder is all custom. There's no spec to speak of, and definitely no multifamily or tract.
And is that because of the market in Houston, or just kind of the way that you guys are doing things, just, concentrating on custom builds versus tract or spec homes?
Right. Well, again, we're north Houston, 40 miles north of Houston. So, yes, subdivisions are being built out now by the larger home builders, but for the longest of time, custom building has been the primary way that homes have been built where we're at. Again, the tract homes are definitely developing around us like any kind of urban sprawl would be. But our focus is definitely custom builders, higher end, better margins, more intimate relationships with the individual homeowners. We get to know them, and that's definitely the way that we want to do business.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Wichita, Kansas, in our market right now, there's almost no tract home being built. They've moved over to building a lot of, they call them twin homes. They're fancy duplexes, expensive duplexes, and in patio homes, then custom home building, but almost no tract homes right now. So how would you describe, the state of the market in North Houston right now? How is your local market, and what's the outlook been for the last year or so?
Right. Well, so you talk about us personally, my business, Color Interiors.
Sure, or just the area that you're in. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so our business was up last year. We're up this year. Now it's maybe 2%. So not great, not huge, but up is up. But if you sit there and you talk to the local sales reps, the TMs, different people like that, that's not the typical. So we're happy that We still have the showroom traffic. We're happy
Hmm.
that a lot of our builders are still building, and things do look positive where we're at.
And are you doing anything in particular as a business to foster that growth, or is it just because Houston just continues to grow bigger and bigger and farther to the north?
No, I think we're having to fight for the market share. We're having to make sure that we get the most out of each and every customer,
Hmm.
whether it's the builder or the retail. So yes, so yeah, we know how difficult it is. I just think that we're doing a really good job at getting the most out of each customer, converting leads better, trying harder, working harder.
Is there anything in particular that you think you guys are doing differently from your competition to track that customer better, or to garner more leads, or stay accountable with the leads that you're receiving?
Well, yeah, of course, just staying on top of, my individual salespeople,
Hmm.
asking them the questions. What can we do more for them? What can we do to make their life easier to sell a job? Those kind of things. Definitely social media. We've done really well on that. We've pushed that the last, couple years hard. We've kind of getting that dialed in nice. So we know we're getting that reach, and then and then just like regular boots on the ground, just trying to
Yeah.
find more builders, trying to find more decorators and realtors, things like that. Just really having to go out and find the business. Don't wait for it to walk in the door and come to us.
And by and large, most of your employees, are they commission based employees, or base plus
Yes,
commission of some combination?
I would say I would consider it 100% commission. They are
Yeah.
100% commission.
So
There's a base, but
when you send those leads out, or somebody on your team that's managing those leads, they send those out, they're attacking him as soon as they get him, correct?
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they want to. They in like with every salesperson, you try to take that individual customer, see if we get to talk to them first, then find out
Mhm.
who would be the best fit for that particular type of salesperson, or read the lead that comes off the internet and say, I think that one salesman's better at doing LVT than another, or one
Sure.
salesman's better doing countertops than another. Make sure we get send the right lead to the right salesperson.
Right. Have you found that the customer has changed in any way that's made it more difficult, or they've changed in a way that's made it easier for you because of the systems you guys have in place? Like they've, become a customer that just really fits the way you do business?
Well, we always try to treat the customer like when they walk into our doors. And again, it's a
Mhm.
retail customer, that walks in our doors, or let's say a live lead. We feel like that customer wants to buy from us, so it's our customer to lose. So what is it, and what would be the reason that they would not want to do business with us? Most customers, I would say, because we're a brick and mortar, we are standalone, we're not in a strip center, we own our own buildings. All my salesmen know the sales pitch, they know the story, they know who we are, they understand we're family owned, they go through all the details. With that, by the time they go through all the steps and the customer knows who Color Interiors truly is and what we're all about, they want to buy from us. Is price a big deal? Of course, it always is. We try to say that it's not, but it is. Price matters, but the difference between a good deal and a bad deal some days is only 5%. So
Right.
that shouldn't be the biggest hurdle.
And do you
But
guys
yeah,
offer the full gamut, financing and installation and things like that in your business?
right, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and I would say most of our sales are installed. There's a little bit of cash and carry, but not that much of it.
So, but you do stock a decent amount of materials. Is that mostly for your builder segment?
Well, we stock things just if somebody needs it quick, like they close on a house, forgot they're moving in or something like that, and they need something quick. Yes, we have some builder products for tenant improvement, for rental houses and things such as that. But really, stocking is not my game. It's really
Right.
not. I have some for necessity, but that's not something that we want to push. I mean, I would really, be happier if the customer comes in the door and selects exactly what they want, not something that we're trying to feed them. Make each house more custom, make it their own, and I just think we have happier customers when we do that.
Right. And it's been successful for you, right? I mean, you're continuing to grow.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And some people talk about, there's better margin possibly in some inventory. And there's some strategies to that. But I think getting the customer what they want in the end is a happier customer.
Right. Good. So you talked a little bit about margins. We've had a couple of price increases recently from some of the larger manufacturers, and some of the distributors have been passing on some stuff due to tariffs and things like that, do you think the margins are getting tighter and causing customers to price shop more? Or do you think it's just a matter of the price is what the price is, and if we do our job as a company, that's going to be a secondary issue compared to how we treat them, what the service is, and what their ending result is?
Right. No, I don't think the price increases have really changed anything as far as the consumer goes. Consumer hasn't purchased flooring either ever in the last
Mhm.
7 years. So that they don't know what the price should be. They really have no idea. So a
Yeah.
price increase doesn't matter. I like price increases. I say bring them on. I do. I mean, I honestly do. As long as everybody around me gets the same one,
Yeah.
that's fine. We're all on even playing field, and that's great. I don't go day to day negotiating with any of my TMs on
Mhm.
prices. Now, my salesmen do. They
Yeah.
want to increase their margin, but me on the day to day, the higher the price, the better.
Yeah. Is like your biggest competition, the box stores, or is it, are you competing against yourself and just making sure that you're getting better on a daily, weekly basis?
Yeah, no, no. Sometimes we ask ourselves that question: Who really is our competition? And,
Mhm.
and sometimes we just spell out, our competition is ourself.
Yeah.
Again, ours to lose. But no, you think about big box. Big box is not competition for us. Our customers, most of our customers, I bet, don't even go into the Home Depot, the Lowe's, those to even shop at all. So our competition would be other retailers, that are similar to us. And then, we talk about floor and decor. I know that's a big topic.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
everybody talks about floor and decor. Yes, there is some of that, but not as much with our customers.
Yeah. So, is there anything that's, you have three different stores, you've got a number of employees at each store, you probably have a centralized warehouse at one of the locations of some kind, I'd assume. Where do you
Exactly.
typically see the breakdowns in your operations? Where are the challenges that you have as an owner, on a daily or weekly basis? Is there somewhere they normally occur? Or is it just a new fight every day?
No, so when you talk about challenges, we can go a lot of different directions on that. But one, we want to meet customers' expectations. So
Mhm.
setting those in the very, very beginning, slow the customer down. We're not Amazon, we're not delivering tomorrow. We're not doing that. So ideally is, you get with the customer, let them make their selections, tell them that, we will schedule the install once the material arrives.
Yeah.
Slow the customer down, slow the process down. Tell them that they've probably been thinking about this for 6 months, 2 years, forever anyway. What's another 3 days? What is the hurry? And so, as long as we can slow that pace down, their expectations down a little bit. Get the materials into our warehouse, have everything on hand, then schedule the job. By doing that, it makes our installers happier, makes the warehouse run smoother, makes bookkeeping run smoother.
Yeah.
Everything goes better when we slow that process down. And for the most part, customers are excited and they ask you, when can you install it? Yeah, they're asking that question because they're excited.
Yeah.
Not because they have to have it by tomorrow. Now there are situations people forget they're moving into a house, whatever it is. I'm closing. I need this. I need this. There are those situations, but those are a lot more rare than what we try to make out.
Yeah, I tell my staff a lot, the customer that wants to schedule before we get the products, you're guaranteed an issue is going to occur with delivery and receiving of that material if it's scheduled before we even get it. And if you
Yeah.
tell the customer that, like, hey, I can schedule it for next week on Thursday because that's when you want it, but it's not supposed to get here till Wednesday. And if we schedule it, there's no way it's going to show up Wednesday. So, you
Right.
might as well wait until it actually gets here and then we'll schedule it. So, are you guys having any issues in your area with installers? It's one of the I I feel very fortunate in our area that installation is not an issue for us currently. We have a lot of good quality installers. Maybe I pay them too much. I don't know, because they're not going anywhere. But are you guys have any type of installation issues as far as availability and workers in your area?
Right. Well, you can say, like, so in reality, no. Again, we
Mhm.
talked about slowing the customer down, those situations. If we sit there and schedule things properly, we have enough installers to get all the jobs done in the right amount of time and, a reasonable amount of time. So no, that is not. Now, do we want more skilled labor? Sure. For us, we want more tile setters,
Yeah.
LVP, wood, those guys are great. We've got enough carpet crews to get the jobs done timely. Tile crews, that training is a little more intense. It's an art more than the other two. So yes, we always want more, and we've got a couple practices. in place right now, training some young tile installers, with some veteran installers trying to
Hmm.
so they can, learn and maybe start their own crews one day. So we're trying to do a little bit of that training inside of our own store.
And are most of your installers subcontractors, or do you have some that actually work for you?
No, they're all we have one, but other
Hmm.
than that, they are all subcontractors. That's to me, that's still the better way. Pay them by
Yeah,
pay them by the job. Keep your efficiencies that way.
yeah. Yeah, and we don't do a lot of tile work here, especially not compared to, down in Texas where you're probably, I mean, 90% slab, very few basements probably where you're at.
Right.
Yeah. So you're gonna need a lot of tile. How many I guess there's probably no perfect way that go right now. Are there any challenges that you're having as an owner in your market right now that just don't seem to go away?
No, you talk about, salesmen, repeating mistakes, installers
Mhm.
repeating mistakes, just getting things in place so that you can minimize those kind of repeat actions. But I don't really see anything, the economy's decent.
Mhm.
We know that we have to take care of every customer that walks in the door, make sure they're taken care of in order to keep growing or to stay where we're at. We know we're taking market share, around us just because we hear the talk of the town.
Yeah.
So we're doing the right things. Can we always be better? Of course, yeah. But we're doing the right things.
Hmm. You talked a little bit earlier about, you've got the leads coming in and that you thought your marketing was working well. Is there anything from a marketing aspect that is really helping you to garner more leads online and more traffic on your different social channels? Because, I see your posts all the time, on your Facebook and Instagram and advocating for color interiors. Have you learned any tricks of the trade? I see you haven't made the jump like I have of making an absolute fool out of yourself on TikTok, which is good. But
Not, not
anything that's working really well for you guys right now?
No, I think just the whole approach,
Hmm.
making customers aware of who we are. Maybe as we're doing some of the different advertisings or promotions, we're not really necessarily selling a product. We're
Right.
selling ourselves. Kind of letting the public get to know who we are versus trying to sell something. The more exposure of that, I think is what's working.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of that stuff in house, or do you have a marketing team that does that for you? Or are you just kind of running that?
No, it's all that is done in-house. We try to use, our own content, and, so it's done in-house. Of course, you said that you do the Google searches and things like that, which is outsourced. But yeah, our social media content is all in-house.
Yeah. And when it comes in house, do you have like one designated person that filters that out to either Magnolia or Conroe to the particular store, and then that gets filtered out to a different salesperson, or does somebody take that lead and they start with it and see if they can finish it?
Okay, you're talking about the lead, yeah, in the lead situation, and once we
Hmm.
receive the lead, however we, get it, whether it's through the social media realm or through, just through Google or through
Right.
a vendor send. Yeah. So I do have one person that kind of vets that customer, whether it's just reading what the customer wants or calling the customer and actually
Yeah.
talking to them to find out what they're after. So yes, I do have one person that does a great job at that and then sends it to the correct location, the correct salesperson. And I think it's very critical. You send a lead, a very, very good lead to the wrong salesperson, it's lost.
Right. Or don't get to it in time either. I mean, that's the yeah, I tell my sales staff all the time, if my sales manager sends you a lead and you don't get to it for 2 days, I mean, it's
Oh,
already
that's
gone.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, that is definitely a pet peeve of ours.
Yeah.
We need instant, and then also give me feedback and let me know that you did do your job. I trust
Yeah.
you, but you better tell me you did it.
Yeah, if I've got to call that lead and go, "Hey, I know you bought somewhere else. Could you tell me why?" They're like, "'Cause nobody called me." Then I'm gonna have a talking to with somebody and try and rectify that real quick. So,
For sure. That's
are
that's a good
there
way not to be sent another lead.
yeah, that's especially if you're working on commission, you'd think you'd want to jump right after it,
Yeah, and they do,
but
and, and
like
and
on
my
the
and my guys are great.
yeah, and on the reverse side though, I don't know if you have this problem. Those people that if they want it done today or they wanted it done yesterday, and you're saying, look, I can. I can get you in say 2 weeks, or the wait for installation is a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, and they say, well, the guy down the street said he can do it tomorrow. I always try to train my staff. Do you want the guy who can get to it tomorrow, who doesn't have any business, or do you want the
Exactly. Yeah.
guys who you're gonna have to wait a couple weeks and we'll get to it then because we're booked up until then. So
Oh, there are definitely some customers that you just don't want,
yeah.
and the price just goes up once you figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is that, I think, we probably, neither one of us are probably on the sales floor as much as we used to be, but is that something that you kind of train your staff in to watch for those types of things? Like, I know that you're getting paid commission and you want to sell this job, but is this a job that we want to do? Is this in our wheelhouse? Is it okay to just say, hey, we can let this one go?
Oh yeah, for sure. We have, you have different salespeople, in different stages of their life. We've got some that are veterans; they know the pitfalls. And then you have some that are young. And it's like, hey, this guy wants us to build their wooden patio deck. I'm like, that's not what we do. We don't do that. We don't do roofs,
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it's definitely giving a little reality check on what is our wheelhouse, like you said,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then of course, with customers with bad attitudes or too big of a hurry,
Mhm.
yeah, we don't need every customer. We sure don't need a headache.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's other stores that specialize in different things, and that's, I'll look on our scheduling software and I'll try and figure out why my estimator is gonna be at an address for 6 hours, and I'll talk to the salesperson, "Why is he out there for 6 hours?" He's like, "Oh, we're measuring 3 floors of an office building." Hey, that's not our wheelhouse, man. We can't move all that stuff. We're not gonna move all those desks and cabinets and, pull him off of there. There's other companies that do a much better job, than we're ever gonna do on that type of thing, so
Mhm. Mhm.
you've been at it about the same amount of time that I have in the industry, and, both worked with our dads and things like that. Are there any, not necessarily mistakes, but any kind of hard lessons you had to learn as an owner and coming into your own over the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, that's of course a tough question. What have we learned over the years, right? So I've
Mhm.
been doing this 26 years now, come August. And yeah, so I was that, young, dumb salesperson, and I definitely bit off more
Welcome
than
to
I
the
can.
club.
Yeah, so I've done that numerous times. Yeah, so probably trying to take my experience from starting out young and as young as some of these other salesmen that I have are. Tell them the mistakes I made. Tell them what's worth our time, what's not worth our time. I think that's probably the most valuable thing that I can do is just pass along experience.
Yeah.
To that. My dad did the same, passed along experience to me. And us being hard headed, sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we do have to learn from mistakes, and I do tell all my salespeople this. I say, go out and make some mistakes. Go do it. Just get out
Mhm.
there, figure it out, learn from those lessons. There's nothing we can't overcome. And so yeah, I definitely make sure all my new employees know that I am not scared for them to go make mistakes because I want them
Yeah.
to try and not be scared.
Yeah, and then you can say, "Look, I've made mistakes, and you have to learn the hard way sometimes." And doesn't mean I want it to happen, but I know it's going to happen. As long as you learn from it and
Right.
grow from it, that's the way it's going to be. Like I come in at like 7:45, and there's some people that work for me that have been working here way longer than me. That remember when I couldn't get in by 10 in the morning. Let alone being the first guy here in the morning. So, well, what about the future of the independent retailer? Do you any idea or foresight of where you think the industry is heading in the next 3 to 5 years? We're at convention year for two of the
Mhm.
larger manufacturers. They're going to be rolling stuff out, at the end of this year, the beginning of next year. Any idea of where the retailer might move here in the future?
Well, you say 3 to 5 years. I think that time
Is
frame
that
we're
too large of a time frame? Are we moving
No,
quicker
no,
than that?
no. What I'm saying with that, no, I think we're all on the right track. 3 to 5 years is gonna be kind of pretty well status quo. We're as far as my business, my area, my customers, the needs where we're at. We're gonna keep doing kind of basically the same thing that we've been doing, servicing the customers. You sit there and talk about the next generation. Do they want houses? Do they want apartments? Do they want townhouses? They don't want a yard, that kind of mentality. We got to kind of pay attention to that. But short term, people in our area still want houses. Even the kids of the next generation, they still want to own property, own their own house.
Yeah.
So our area is still has the single home mentality. So short term, I don't see any change in that for us.
So do you think there's you run a successful business, and obviously we've all seen businesses have that are not successful, or businesses that struggle. Is there something that you think that you're doing that allows you to be more successful, or are there things that you see struggling businesses continue to do, and you go, hey, if you would just fix this little thing, it would probably allow your business to grow a little bit more?
Right. No, I've always looked for that little, either the magic wand that you can sit there and say, if I was king of the world, what would I do? What would I change situation? But we're always looking for those little fixes. But basically, it's the small details that add up. You hear that
Yeah.
a lot. Watch the pennies,
Yeah.
and so there is that. But I don't necessarily have any kind of wisdom to say this is what I would do. Every situation is different. Every business is different. Every family dynamic is different. So what when you're running a business, that is probably the hardest thing. Is they're also different.
Yeah, because 'cause they're all so different. I mean, that uh, I've told, people before that there's 100 different ways that you can run your business and still be successful. My
Mhm.
business and your business are not even remotely the same, in both successful businesses, and there's no right way to run a business. You can be successful in a variety of ways, so
Yeah. So it's definitely topic specific. Like what is your tip? It
yeah.
depends on what our goal is. Don't spend more than you make. Let's just start there.
Yeah, I was talking to another dealer, and you had mentioned pennies just a minute ago, like watch your pennies. And he had just made just some very minor changes in his warehouse setup that he thought was gonna just not add up to anything. But he moved a couple bar and was able to get a couple more rows, which allowed him to bring in a little bit more on a truck, and he goes, those pennies turned into dollars, and those dollars turned into something that really mattered at the end of the year. So
Yeah, that's our friend. Yeah, our friend Reagan Eccles. Him and I will be hanging out here together in the next couple hours.
Yeah, but you would say, what is this warehouse work that you speak of? I'm not sure what you're talking about. All right, I don't want to keep you long. You got things to do. You ready for a little rapid fire?
Yep, let's go with it.
Okay, here we go. So, if there was one thing that you would fix in our industry overnight, what do you think it would be?
Overnight
Yeah.
fix in a mystery. My goodness, we need less product.
Yeah, less
There, there,
product.
there- there- less product. Yeah, there's too
Yeah,
much
there's
product out.
way too many
Way, way,
products out
way,
there.
way, way too many selections. So you know, for me, we pare our showrooms down more and more. Every time we turn around, we're trying to think, what can we actually get out of here and not add to?
Yeah, 80/20 is probably even more 95/5.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right, best advice you could give to somebody who is opening up a new store?
Well, we kinda talked about that a second ago. Yeah. Watch your
Watch
pennies.
your pennies.
And yeah, exactly right. When you're opening a store, pick your vendors wisely. Kinda like you're picking your friends.
Yep.
Good friends, good relationships, good vendors. Don't overexpand. You don't need everybody. You just need the right ones.
Right ones. Is there one metric that you track that you think every retailer should be watching?
No, we talked about inventory earlier. I'm not a huge advocate on having a ton of inventory for my clientele. That's not what we need there.
No reason to tie up cash flow.
Correct. Yeah, there's no reason on that. Having commission-based salespeople, they're watching the margins just like we're watching the margins. The metric, is what are expenses that sneak up on you? Freight, credit card fees, financing fees, any of those say hidden fees or any of those things that hit your bottom line
That you're
that
not taking into account.
right.
Right.
Those are huge. Those are 3, 4, 5% at the end of the year, and that adds up very, very
And
big.
we're really all playing in a 3 to 5% at the end of the year. After
Mhm.
sales, after costs, after, you take out payroll and insurance. I mean, we're really playing in that 3 to 5% margin anyway. And the
Right.
better you can keep it at 5, the more money that we got. So,
Exactly.
last one, biggest myth about the flooring industry.
Myth about the flooring industry. You say myth. Are you thinking like what does a customer perceive about us? Like we're like the furniture industry, like we are
Sure.
making profit hand over fist.
Yeah, it is
Try
a
and try to understand that. I told you before, a good deal versus a bad deal is about 5%
yeah.
between one retailer from another. So, educating the consumer on that. What does the consumer really think about our margins? Make sure they're aware that they're not as high as the furniture industry possibly.
They all think we're rich and we're not. That's what it is.
You know, uh, it's you look at some retailers and you're wondering how are they still in business? This is not that easy, and you wonder how they're getting by. But yeah, the flooring industry is not easy. We're dealing with consumers. We're going in there. We're tearing up their house, trying to put it back together, trying to keep them happy at the end of the day. It's a tough industry.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
tough,
Yeah.
but it's fun. We have a lot of great friends. We have a lot of great times. I wouldn't change it.
Yep, me neither. Well, Mark, I appreciate you talking with me today. I don't want to keep you too long. That way you can get out to the beach and
Definitely.
celebrate with some friends. I'm sure I'll see you here pretty soon. So, any last words before we cut away?
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
it was great having you. It was Mark with Color Interiors, and we will talk to you next time on Flooring 101. Take care,
Sure.
guys.
Thank you, Jason. Bye.
So, thank you for listening to the Flooring 101 podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another flooring professional who could benefit from it. Remember, great flooring businesses aren't built by chance, they're built through systems, leadership, and consistent execution. Until next time, keep learning, keep improving, and keep building a better flooring business.